I better be silent.
All right, you are live.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, by roll call by clerk, if we have one. You wanna do it?
By roll call,
Well, see who's here, make sure we got enough for a
We're
quorum.
good.
we do have a quorum. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so we have that.
We have 5 members out of 7.
Alright. So, need to approve this agenda,
I will make the motion to approve that agenda.
and that's, the agenda just for the 2024 budget.
Absolutely.
So moving forward with that, do I have a second to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Alright,
By Rebecca.
Rebecca,
Yes.
good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's passed 5-0, sorry. Left Randy out.
He did say. I heard him.
Okay, so, the budget, we did have our first reading already,
Yes, sir.
and, that was presented, to the same thing we are looking at.
Yes.
Basically, with Rebecca attending, the, budget meeting and requested it back to the count, to this board.
Randy Clavin was there the last 10 minutes.
Okay. So did you, you brought it back to the board for the reading,
Yes.
and everybody read it, and it was approved then as the reading went by. So now we are, at this point, we are to adopt this tonight.
Yes, sir.
First reading was read, everybody looked it over. So this is up for adoption. Am I saying that right?
I read it the first time
Okay.
at the courthouse, and now this is the second time.
I think your problem is, the reason you're having problems with this is it doesn't look on the state website as though it's balanced. And that's what's confusing to me.
Oh,
The amount you have for expenses, the $543,344 is exactly what you had last year. Your annual budget on income last year was $544,500. On the state website, it looks like your budget year total revenue is gonna be $481,500. So I think that's what's probably caused some concern. It's not budget.
obviously, the reading of this budget, then, the last meeting or meeting before, we didn't look at that and
Well-
didn't catch it.
Listen here, if you just look at this is just the expense,
All right.
okay? So
I understand.
the revenues, it was just said that it was the same as last year, just adopting the same budget, but last year's budget was 544. If you remember what, Wes gives these out to us constantly.
So what you're saying that our budget for 2024 shouldn't be just 342?
It should be 544,500 if you use the same income as you did in 23.
Okay,
And then you'd have a balanced budget. Because last year you had 544,500 as income, 543,344 was your expenses. So you basically had a $1,150 approximately profit. But the state shows you're only gonna take in 481,500. You have the 543,344 as far as your expense, and that's probably the concern. But we didn't have, there's no income projection on this document here.
And I wasn't aware that there was a concern or anything until Mr. Aitchen said something in the meeting the last time.
Well, they took it, they took this down off the internet, it's where they ended up getting this one.
Right.
So I think that's, see, and you're adopting an expense budget, but I think you also have to have something down there for income.
And that would be the difference in the cardboard, like I said, when we had the meeting last time. And that would be because the cardboard alone, the difference in what we had last year versus this year is $35,000. And that's because of the fallout on the cardboard and the plastic right now. That is going back up. We sat today and went through what the difference is to date in what we have received from that. I called, today and talked to Quincy, our salesperson, and cardboard is now back up to 70 as of today. Plastic has jumped up to 40, so we'll get that. With that, like I stated before to Mr. H, we can't project what's going to happen with cardboard, last year to this year, that's beyond our control. With that difference gonna go back up, we will, make up some of that, but that's where that difference comes.
Okay, so this number, you actually are sticking with the 481,500? So your total income?
It's actually 442. And
I've got it off the state budget.
443, 344.
If that's what you're reading, I'm sorry, I can't see that far.
See where it says 481
Yes,
total revenue?
right,
That's off the state.
right. I think I actually do have it.
So what you have here for the total budgets of 2023 is 543, 344. And then you have that same amount moved over on the 2024 budget.
Right, and that's what we had projected. We didn't, the way it had fallen out and went down, we thought it would come back up quicker. It didn't. It's, like I said, it's just now at $70 per ton for cardboard. And we feel like we're gonna be able to, adjust that with it's coming back up, and we've got a good amount.
So what Randy here is saying is that this figure doesn't agree with the state.
Well, what you're doing is you're in the red by $60,000 is what it amounts to.
But we're really not, because we've got the amount of the insurance. As I spoke before, the insurance, when the budget was done prior to the year before, was never adjusted for the director, that amount was never taken out when the people
Right.
did that.
I mean, these are, you're not gonna guarantee what cardboard's gonna be or steel or any of this other thing. But you're anticipating $60,000 less in revenue. And I think that's where their concern is,
Mhm.
is if you continue, and you do have the reserves where you can pay that.
Right.
If we have multiple years of $60,000 in the red, the next step will be raising people's fees, because that's the only way you'll survive. And I think that's their concern. But if you look, just like where you are, cardboard's down. You anticipated 32,000, you've only got 12 out of it, but you're not selling that, you've got it stored there.
No, we are going to be selling it now, the plastic,
You
because
will be, but it isn't reflected in the August 23. That's the document I've got.
Right.
This is the latest one that I've got from
in
Wes.
August, we had that, now we
Yeah.
have
So
found out
you-
that the plastic can go now at $40. We've got a load that we can do out in about 2 weeks, because we don't have a full load of plastic. Cardboard is already set to go out next week. We have a load going out of $70. Out of the insurance on 5023, which is the health insurance for the employees, Randy, we have a savings. If I do not take, and I continue having no health insurance from this, that is $34,000 that we're saving. That's $34,000 out of that. So at $34,000, and if I did decide to take our insurance, that's $1,300 a month that would come out of that. So at $34,000 that we're saving out of the $60,000, that leaves $30,000. Okay, so
I'm not questioning the fact that you could put it together and make it happen.
yes,
You need to have the same number for income and the same number for expense on a
okay,
budget.
so if this is the concern, and I know that you are great at numbers and figuring this out, we both know that, there's no denying that. When I asked for this meeting last week, now we are on the deadline, and this has to come out. Now we're sitting here doing this, and she has to have this done by tomorrow. Why weren't we at this meeting last week when I asked for this? If this is now there's gonna be a problem with this passing, and now we're gonna have a problem for the county, why are we doing this the night before? I asked for this meeting last week. And no one would respond. You didn't know respond. There was one email response and one verbal response for 2 people out of 7. Now we're sitting here the night before and this is the problem. This is
So-
not fair. It's not right that I'm sitting here trying to get a budget continued for this. That was not an issue before.
So are you recommending a unbalanced red in the negative budget and we should
That's
approve
not
it?
fair.
Okay, so I'm just asking. a
No, but
question.
that's not fair. I
Okay,
asked
what
for
are you
this
asking?
meeting, I asked for this meeting over a week ago to have this done, to sit and have this conversation. And you and other people did not respond with an email or anything to have this conversation. Now it's the night before this needs to be done for our county. And now this is an issue.
I think the question becomes when you try to call a meeting in a day or two. I, for one, have a schedule and am quite busy. And to be able at any whim just to stop and have a meeting is very, very difficult for me. It's going to impact my livelihood and my business. I just cannot do that. It
So-
needs to be scheduled. Now, my recommendation is to adjust your income according to what you projected in 23 so that you have a balanced budget. Then during the 24 year, depending on where cardboard, metal, aluminum cans, plastic, and all this falls, you're just gonna have to monitor where you're at and adjust accordingly so that your budget meets the established 2024 goals. But,
2024 goes with the state, basically,
pardon me?
to adjust that where we will be
Just so-
within the state's guidelines.
Yeah, just so we're balanced.
Yeah, so what's happened
Because see,
here,
I don't know that we ever saw an income projection. The only income projection that I saw came from the state website.
okay, so what I think has happened, I'll ask Rebecca, because she was at the meeting for this budget. It was you and Randy and Paul?
No,
Do we need to just, basically, my understanding is right, 481,500 is what's on the state's website. We reduced 543 minus that. We reduced our budget by 61,000 to get it. Is that what I'm hearing?
You either reduce it or you raise it back up to the 544 that you said you're gonna make last year, and then it'll balance.
Right,
because you
Because
can
you
operate in the
cannot-
red.
right.
You can't sit
understand.
here and, say that my cardboard will be low, it will be high, it will be
You
whatever.
don't know.
Can't
You
predict
don't
that.
know. And what my understanding was, it was presented that you're using last year's budget for 24.
Yeah.
Last year's budget balanced.
So is it fair to take 30 off of insurance, because you said you're gonna take that, reduce that, and then raise up your income by 30? Does that seem?
I mean, just so you
logical?
get it balanced. I mean,
I don't
there's
know.
any number
Just
of
don't know.
ways to do it. And then budgets are a guideline for managing. your entity.
What I didn't see is of course, I wasn't here the last meeting, but what I didn't see is where in this report here on 2023, all the figures are just moved over.
Right.
And there should have been some differences in the
Well, all you
figures up
did,
to
Rob,
about
these
60,000.
are just expenses.
Okay,
And she's saying our expenses for 23 will be the same in 24, which is fine. But then our revenue is 60,000 plus lower on the state website. We've never talked about revenue that I'm aware of. But that's where you need to have a matching revenue for expenses, so your budget is balanced.
so Randy, what you're proposing is to adjust this by, is it 60,000, or do we need to go through each number here?
I don't
You
think
need
you need to.
62,000 roughly. I mean,
I mean,
based off the
if you-
41,500, I'm rounding up.
Everybody gets these from Wes. If you look on this column over at the side, annual budget. Our annual income was estimated to be 544,500
Something else.
last year.
He brought from Westfield, Hannah's gonna go,
She can copy mine. This is just from our last, but what it is, it balances. So if we're gonna use last year's budget, then we use last year's income, and then it balances.
Because that didn't change.
Because you can't operate in the red.
Right. We
See,
didn't change
but
our
for some
income.
reason,
We didn't change our employee
no,
cost.
on the state website, it looks like you're only gonna make 481,000 and still have the higher expenses, which means you're running in the red.
I had that on budget.
I looked it up because I kept thinking, how could this be that far off? Because I've been watching that through the year.
Becky, who brought this to the advisor, from the advisory board to the advisory board from the group that did this budget?
Did you have a budget meeting this year at all? Do you?
We had a budget reading, didn't we?
Maybe Paul was on that
Paul, you and Randy Cleveland.
this year.
Hey Randy, I pulled up the Form 3B from last year. The income was the 481,500.
So where's Wes getting the 544 number from?
Probably increasing the health insurance costs, but I don't know.
No, that's income.
This is
That-
the
It's
It's
income.
expenses.
He used 544 in all the documents that he gives to us.
Yeah, because look, their form, so they just copied everything. This is 2022.
They just moved
There's-
it over,
They did everything.
moved everything.
September, because she didn't have anything entered on September 1st.
Is
And it
this
had to
for-
be entered September 1st. So the option was, because Robert Norris contacted me.
Mhm.
And he said the options are to either put zeros in or just move last year's budget over. Because if you put zeros in, you're gonna have to ask for an additional appropriation on every dollar spent, which means she would have to come to you and the council every week or every bi-weekly for payroll.
Or
which has
payroll
gotta be-
approval, yeah.
which would have to be 10 days ahead. So, and I know I did this, we just moved everything from last year to this year. And last year's, they were off balance too, because it's
Thank you,
481,500.
Hannah.
When she comes back, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
This
these
is,
guys.
this is Wes.
So it's just not entered
Yeah, I
properly.
did one.
And here,
I left mine.
Oh, that's
Got
right.
mine.
Oh,
that's
turn it
the
over.
change in income.
Oh, okay, that's double sided.
Gotcha.
Anybody else need one?
There's Chris right here. This is from Wes. He's saying right here, our annual budget was 544,500. Okay,
That's expenditures.
no, that's income. Total
Income.
income. Total expense.
So they were entered last year and this year.
The expense is correct,
But this is wrong.
but the income is 60,000 plus.
But I'm just pointing out that, yeah, what was happening is this is exactly what was entered last year.
So I don't know where Wes comes up with 544,500, but his will create a balanced budget
Mhm.
using his numbers. And that's what we have at the side of each one of these papers here is the whole budget. And this, if we were gonna duplicate what we did last year,
Well, at this point, we will have to do that. Or we will find ourselves every month, okay, in each,
You can, as far as I talked to Robert Norris today, and we have until October 31st now to get everything, the county has to get everything done. But the county cannot vote tonight. They have to wait and vote on the 30th because your guys' Form 4B states that your adoption day was October 12th. I was unaware that
we're
you.
past that.
So we have to get approval for a new adoption date with the county, which is now set for October 30th, because I'm gonna be out of town all next week and I have to be there. And there's no way to get it done this week because you have to give the DLGF 48 hours notice. And then after you get approval get request from DLGF, they will answer you within 48 hours. And then you have to advertise for 48 hours. And so I was trying to get it on the 23rd because I don't leave for auditors conference till the 24th. But Robert said that wasn't enough time, so we scheduled it for the 30th. But we can adjust your income, but we cannot increase, and you can lower your expenditures, but you can't increase it.
but see, we don't wanna lower our expenditures. We already had them at proper amount. We just didn't have the right income in there.
Yeah.
So can we just increase the income to what 23's income was? And then we're done and adopt the current budget that we have?
You'll have to raise that income.
Yeah, those have to go to 544, just like
Yeah.
we did in 23,
Mhm.
instead of the 481.
But I'm saying we submitted the Form 4B for 23 was entered this exact same way, 481.50 is the income, 543, 344 as the expenditures.
So see, it was in the red then.
Yeah.
Last year
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Wes has a different number here on our budget. So whether that was a number that was carried forward from a previous year and never changed, I don't know.
So the only thing we really need to adjust is the income
Income,
Mhm.
and that number would be what'd you say that was, Randy?
544, 500.
And where's that at on this deal? Let's see that.
It's right up here. See where it says total income? Go look at the big long, turn it over, Ralph.
Top page,
See
total
where it says
income.
total income,
Total income. Okay,
Right there.
544, 500.
I'm still looking for that
It's at-
544, 500 at the bottom. Yeah,
Some-
got it.
Okay, and then you see down there at the bottom where it says total expense, 543, 344.
Yeah, got it.
And see, the bottom number we have correctly on the state website, the income is off by 60 plus.
Okay,
So if we had go back to what we actually used for 23, we're balanced, we're good. But that's what we need to do, so we're not going into a budget year in the red.
so we would have to approve tonight, total income for what we did in 2023,
Right.
To make it balance.
which
That's
would
what
be,
was submitted in 22. This is what was submitted in 22.
So see,
Revenue,
for somebody, put the wrong number in. Because there was 529,000 in 22,
22.
so somewhere that number got transposed and they just carried it over.
so is that the number we need to use?
The 544, 500
544, 500.
544, 500 is what we need to use. So
for income.
at this point, then we just need a motion to accept that as the income.
Modify your
Modify,
budget
yeah.
to reflect 544, 500 and accept the budget as presented based upon last year's numbers budgeted.
So I'll entertain that motion to accept the 544, 500 to be modified for our budget for this year on the total income.
I'll make that motion. And utilize the rest of the remainder of the budget, which is fine. Just
So the rest of this budget.
the same thing, we're just modifying the 24 budget to reflect the same budget that we used in 23 as presented by West Terry. and
That would be the 543, 344.
44.
Yes.
So that doesn't change. All we really did is modified our income
To reflect.
to reflect the 2023.
Because if you don't, you're gonna be 60,000 in the red.
I need a second on that motion.
I'll make it.
Okay, you got a second for Rebecca?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of that motion, or is any opposed first? Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, state your proposal. What do you think, Eric?
Well, you're not required to, but I think we're missing out on the way we bill people. The $45 that we charge for each hotel room, I think needs to be reevaluated. When we don't charge nursing homes that amount for each room, we're missing out on, if we're gonna do it for one, we do it for all. Potentially missing money out on, nursing home wise, or we're overcharging the hotels, I think, and if that's the case.
Okay, point well taken.
So
I
you
think-
want,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I get the note, or if you feel like nursing homes should be,
If we're gonna charge the hotels, the
Hotels.
nursing homes should be charged
equally.
equal, but after, I really don't feel the hotels should be charged what they're being charged like that.
but if one, you
If
feel.
we're gonna do one, you need to do both.
So in the future,
Consistency.
that may be brought up to challenge, be challenged.
It's been brought up, it
Okay.
just,
Is this also gonna include all of your cabins and
they need to be
They are
looked at too.
Before we get off here, we should have modified the
Yes.
agenda to this meeting if we're gonna get into discussion of charges. As far as the agenda is concerned, it's an adoption of the budget. Now, I'm okay with this discussion, but I think it needs to be put on the agenda.
For
We
the
need to
next
bring it
meeting.
back for the next, and everybody then should be prepared to either support or whatever they want to do in this, because this is just a subject that was brought up outside of the agenda.
Yes.
And, I just don't see that it has a point. You need to get your budget passed because of the timeline. So,
I will put it
Okay.
on the next agenda if you would like.
For clarity, the only reason I brought it up is because I was asked to give it.
As for our discussion, yes. So the discussion is, you got any more?
No.
Okay. Discussion's over, so, we are back to our original, motion made by Randy and seconded by
Rebecca?
Rebecca. All in favor by vote with one negative,
4-1.
be 3, 4 to 1. 4 to 1. So it passed to go ahead and reflect and change to 544, 500 on the total income for 2024.
I still think we need to put the county tax rolls.
And in the future, then we will put it on our agenda to discuss the changes possible. Or maybe have a hearing. Will that require a hearing for that kind
I
of
mean,
money?
you're just gonna entertain ideas and
Yeah.
with that, I hope the people bring funding sources or either they shut the solid waste district down or whatever their plans are, because it's very easy to come in and say, let's not pay anything.
Yeah,
But then we have no solutions so when we come in with the ideas, we need to also come in with the methods to make it work. And so people need to be prepared. The
Well, since
public
we're
needs to know.
kind of having an open discussion, I think I've been through these.
This meeting's adjourned, right?
Are we done
No.
with this meeting? We're not
Yeah, we
adjourned?
need
No.
to adjourn it.
We need to adjourn this
no,
meeting.
before we do any more discussion here, we need to go ahead and get this budget approved.
I thought we did.
We just did.
Just move, okay.
We just need to adjourn, and I guess we can talk, or,
We
No.
need to talk in a public meeting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay, well,
still alive.
Okay.
So
All right, so
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
adjourned by Randy and seconded by Gary. All in favor? Aye.
Can we discuss anything at this
4-0.
No.
No,
Meeting's
that's
We
all.
can't.
Meeting's over.
Sorry.
It needs to be
Is
this
done
yours?
for public.
At a
Meeting's
later
over.
date.
No, that's yours.
Okay.
You got everything you need?
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Chris?
Yes.